Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Jane. On today's tutorial, I'll be showing us how to sew a corset with a yoke, an already made bra cup, and also be attaching a boning to the corset. If you're new to my channel, please, you're welcome. Subscribe to the channel, like my videos, and if you're returning, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. So this video, I've done a video previously on how to draft this pattern. If you've not seen that, it's in the description box. Please go check it out before continuing on this part. So these are all of my lining pieces and also my fabric and the pattern. So these are all the patterns from the corset that I drafted previously, and I'm going to go ahead and take off the pattern to reveal all of my fabric and the lining. So I've cut out all of my fabric, and I've also cut out the lining that I'll be using for this corset. Now, for you to cut out your pattern on your fabric, all you need to do is to place it on your fabric and then follow the grain lines, and that's where you cut out. So after cutting out all of my pieces, now for the lining, I went ahead to cut two pieces of the lining because the main fabric is transparent, and I'm going to need a piece of lining to cover the transparent fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and lay all of my front pieces, the front, center front, the side fronts. I'll lay all of them down, and then I'm going to use the lining piece, place them on top of each other, right sides facing each other. So you take one piece of the lining piece that you've cut already, you place them on top of each other, right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to go ahead and just secure all of my pieces with my pins. And what you do is to run a stitch all around. You can run a loose stitch all around it so that the main fabric and the lining can sit together, they can be secured together. So now I have done that. I've stitched up all of my pieces for the main fabric. Now we are going to go ahead and start joining. Now the first thing we are going to join is the bra cup. So I'm going to be joining each of the bra cups. So for the center front and the side front, I'm going to be pinning them, ensuring that you follow the notch. So I placed a notch at where I have my bust point. So that is the notch that I am using to ensure that I get the accurate point where we need to match the two sides together. So please do not forget to place notches on your bust line when you are making a corset so that you get the sewing accurately. So now, after placing the two pieces together, I'll do this for the first side of the corset cup, and I'll also do this for the other side as well. And then after pinning the both of them, I will just go ahead and sew them down by 1/2 inch. So we'll take it to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch from top to bottom by 1/2 inch. We are going to be joining the two pieces together, and this is it, guys. After joining the two pieces together, this is what we have. Now that the stitching is done for the both sides, we are going to take it to the iron to iron the seam open. And to iron the seam open, I have the tailor's ham that I use. So I'll just go ahead and place the corset cup on top of it, and then I'll run my iron on top of it, a very hot steam iron on it. And after steaming that up, I also went ahead to iron an S-stay on it, just so that the seam inside remains flat and open. So I've done this for the other side of the corset cup as well. Now after this, now we're going to take this to our main bra cup. That's the already made bra cup, and we are going to place it on top of our already made bra cup so that we can get the exact size that is on the cup. So what you do is to take your fabric and place it on the bra cup, and then just secure it with pins, stretch it out, make sure that it's properly laid on top of the bra cup. And I'll also advise you use a hemming gum to secure the two of them together. I did that, although it didn't show in the video. Sorry, that part I kind of lost it. And after you've secured the two pieces together, you can now go ahead and trim off all of the excesses you have around your bra cup. So I've done this for the first cup, and I've also done this for the second one. So please note that whatever you do for the main fabric, you also do for the lining. So you can see the lining of the corset cup has also been ironed and trimmed to the size of the bra cup. Now moving on to the main body of the corset, I've pinned it down, the front side and the center front and the side front. I've pinned them down, and after pinning, you take it to the machine to run a half stitch on it. You do this for the back, and you also do this for the front. So you can see my corsets, the corset cup for the main fabric and the lining already ironed, and the main fabric is sitting on the bra cup without moving. So after joining the front and the back, this is it. Next, you're going to be creating the boning channel for this corset. And to create the boning channel for this corset, I will be using a regular bias tape that's available in the market. So what I'll do is to take my bias tape and place it at the point where I want to place the boning. I'll be inserting the boning on my fabric. Okay, so on this corset, wherever I want to place my boning, it's where I'm going to be placing the strips on, so that by the time you're done, you cut out what you don't need, you take this to your machine, and then you're going to be running a top stitch on both sides of the bias tape. So for every channel you create, you're going to be running a top stitch at both sides of the channel. I hope you get that. So you do this for the front side of the corset, and we also repeat the same process for the back. So I've created all of my boning channels for my corsets. Now I'm going to go stitch them down, run a top stitch on them on each of the channels, and that is it. So now we are done running a stitch. This is what it looks like. I've also gone ahead to trim off all of the excess at the waistline, and also some of the excess that I have on the corset cup. So moving on, we are going to be joining the bra cup to the front now, and we are going to be joining it from the point where we have our dart. So you know that there's this dart line running on the top of your corset cup, and to join the corset now, you need to ensure that you match that line with your dart line on your underbust line. So you go ahead and pin the two lines so that they match themselves, and then after that you're going to just stitch up from top to bottom. So I'll do this for the first one, I'll do this second one. Now the cups has been attached to the corset. Now we are going to work on the yoke, and for the yoke I cut out 2 pairs for each side of the front because the net is very soft. It has high tendency of ripping apart. That is why I doubled it for the yoke. Now you can see the front yoke right there. I did the same thing for the back. I also doubled the back as well because of how soft it is, and so that it doesn't rip apart easily. So now for the front and the back yoke, I've stitched them together. I've joined them together at the neckline, and then what we'll do is to now join the back and the front on the shoulder. So you can see that each of the size of this yoke is double. That is for durability. Now after joining it at the neckline, you're going to be joining the front and the back right sides together, and you're going to be flipping one side open to cover the other side, so that at the end of the day, when you stitch this neckline, when you stitch your shoulder line, it's kind of the seam line is concealed inside, it doesn't show. So that's the technique we are doing here. So we just placed the front and the back together, join them shoulder to shoulder, and then use one part of the shoulder to cover the rest, and from there we are going to be running 1/2 inch sewing allowance at the top right there to join the front and the back shoulder. So I'll do this for the first shoulder. I'll also do this for the second one. Alright guys, so the shoulder has been joined. This is what it is. The front and the back yoke has been joined at the shoulder line. Joining the yoke to the corset, you can see the yoke for the front and back has been prepared. Now for me to join this, I'll start with the front before moving to the back. So for the front now, this is my corset here, and what I'll do is to take the front yoke and I'm going to place it inward towards facing inside the corset, not outside. So please don't do this type that you're seeing on the screen, except if you're not going to be using a lining to cover. All right, so if you're going to be just stitching directly on top, like what you're seeing on this video, then you don't need a lining. But because I'm going to still use a lining to cover it up later on, so I'm going to be stitching the yoke inward. So you're going to be placing the yoke inward inside the corset, and then you're going to stitch. So this is what I've done here. I've joined the yoke for the front. I'll repeat the same thing for the back. I'll also go ahead and attach the yoke for the back. Now the yoke for the back has been attached. Now I'm going to create the loops for the back, and to create this loop I went ahead to use my bias tape again, and I this time around I stitched it up together to create those loop, and the length I have on the loop is 2 inch. So all of the loops that I've cut out is 2 inches, and after cutting out this loop, you now take it to the back where we've created the space where the loop is going to sit. You now take it to the back and then attach it. Ensure that you give it a spacing of 3/4 of an inch or 1 inch or half an inch, depending on how you want the loops to sit at the back of your corset. Guys, the loops has been sewn at the back of the corset, and this is it. Alright, so after stitching up the loops, you're going to be attaching this on both sides of the back. Okay, now we are going to now use our lining to cover the corset, the bra cup, and also the back. So you can see how I placed my lining on top of my main fabric, right sides facing each other, and then I will turn it inward, and I have also pinned them all around from one arm to the other. So you can see how I pinned the lining all around the neckline of the corset. Now after pinning this, you're going to go and run a stitch from one end to the other. That way the corset, the main fabric, the yoke has been sandwiched and they have been attached together. Now after this point is done, we are going to be attaching our boning, and the boning I'm using here is the Regilene boning, the sewable type. So I will go ahead and cut up all of my bonings and feed it into the boning channels that was previously created. And after that, guys, this is what corset looks like. This is what the front looks like. You can see the effect of the boning in the corset. I've placed all the bonings at the front and at the back, and this is the inside of my corset, looking very beautiful. Okay, you can also use a hemming tape at the neckline of that corset so that it stays nicely and it doesn't poke out at that point. So this is it, guys. This is what our corset looks like with a yoke and a bra cup. I hope you like this video. Please give me a giant thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay blessed and thank you for watching. You can now go ahead and lace the back however you want. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.